blogtalkradio.nyc.
What up, world? What up, world? It is your boy, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you with Philanthropy in Focus, baby. Well, that's not the whole name, but the baby I threw in at the end. But Philanthropy in Focus. All right, a couple things we got to get out of the way, right out of the way, really quick before we get into this conversation with my guest today. First things first, last night, yesterday afternoon, yesterday evening, sometime like that, I was out at Captain Bill's in Bayshore. Shout out to Yolanda Rabano Gross and the team at Options for Community Living. I'm going to share this if you're watching and you see this. Death of a Gangster, September 26th. Your boy, the nonprofit sector connector, will be the honoree at this event, September 26th at the Bayview House at Captain Bill's, where we did some videos yesterday. We were checking out the place. You'll see if you go to Options for Community Living, click on events and look for the Mafia Murder Mystery event. You'll see Tommy D there, the nonprofit sector connector. I am the honoree. I'm excited about that. As I've been saying for a long time, if you watch any gangster and mafia movies, all I'm hoping is that I don't get whacked that night. All right. But again, somebody's going to die because it is a murder mystery thing, but it's just pretend, everybody. It's just a game. If you are anywhere near Suffolk County, Long Island, you should be there. It's going to be a party. It's not your typical nonprofit gala. This is going to be a party. You get dressed up. The women dress up like with the flappers, costumes or whatever. You know, men, pinstripe suit, the whole thing. You know, it's going to be a fun night. There's opportunities to sponsor. There's opportunities to support Options for Community Living. If you don't know about Options, serving people experiencing homelessness, people living with HIV and AIDS. We're ending a lot of stigmas, people with different mental health issues, and a very, very important organization. Me, Yolanda, and I hung out. We did some videos, so look out for that stuff on social media. That is out of the way. Before we get into my conversation with Jennifer Hernandez, actually, pause, time out. Hello, Jennifer.
Hi, how are you, Tommy? That was a great intro.
We're just getting started. We're just getting started.
Congrats on the honoree.
I would love you to be there that night. We'll talk about it after the show, but I think there's a lot of do you know Options, and do you know Yolanda and the team over there? Yeah.
I'm familiar with Options.
Yeah. So we'll talk about maybe a little bit of that today. One other thing before we get into what Jennifer and I are here to talk about, which is her role at ECLI VIBES and the great work that they're doing, is I got to share one more thing. The finalists were just announced yesterday morning. Wednesday night, Thursday morning for the New York City Imagine Awards, and I'm going to run them through real quick for you. In the Leadership Excellence category, you got Computers for People, New York Foundation for the Arts, Saki for South Asian Survivors, and the Eagle Academy Foundation. You have in the Social Impact, we got Center for Alternative Sentencing, which employment services cases in New York City. Many folks know that. Our Children was a client of Vanguard Benefits for a long time. I know them many years. They do great work serving moms who are incarcerated, and when they get out, supporting them. Part of the solution, the Marcy Lab School, that's all in that category, social impact. We get into the diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility category. You got New York City Urban Debate League, NY PACE, which is New York Professional Advisors for Community Entrepreneurs, Rise and Read of Greater New York, and the Special Olympics of New York. Then you got the Claire Friedlander Family Foundation Arts and Culture Award. Now, I will tell you this. I've had Omnium Circus on this show. They're a finalist. I love that organization. Building Beats, I'm fired up about hanging out with them. They teach young people how to DJ, and I want to learn how to DJ, and I'm not a young person, although I feel like one. That they were, I got to do their interview for the follow-up, and they'll be coming on the show soon. Runway of Dreams Foundation, the Poetry Society of New York, and these other ones, man, I just don't know you all yet, but I look forward to meeting you at the event and getting you on the show possibly. Anthos Home, this is innovation. Anthos Home, New York Langone Health, the Brave House, met some folks from Brave House last year's New York City Imagine Awards, and then Wellness in the Schools is another organization in the innovation category. And we rounded out with the Rising Star, which out here on Long Island, Vanguard Benefits manages and sponsors the Rising Star. In New York City, it's my friends over at YPTC, your part-time controllers. So in the Rising Star category, you got Broadway Community, City Living NY, Single Stop, and the Chick Mission. We will learn all about this stuff when we get together at the New York City Imagine Awards. If you don't know what the heck I'm talking about, well, I don't know. Send me an email, TommyD@philanthropyandfocus.com, or go to the website, nycimagineawards.org. I've been on the committee for the Long Island Imagine Awards for the last 8-9 years. We've been a sponsor for just as long, I think, Vanguard Benefits. And since the inception of the New York City Imagine Awards, I have been on that committee as well. We're looking for more folks to join those committees. If that's something you're interested in, reach out to me, TommyD@philanthropyandfocus.com, or hit me up on the Instagram, TommyD.NYC, or the Nonprofit Sector Connector on Instagram, whatever. You'll find me. Just Google Tommy D. Well, probably my whole name, DIMISA, but we don't tell everybody all that. All right, Jennifer, let's get into this. So I want to tell you something. So you are the leader of, well, I'm not telling you that, you knew that, of ECLI Vibes, but what I don't know if you remember, and I might have told you this a couple months ago when I reached out, the original way that you and I connected was my buddy Ken Serini, when wasn't ECL Vibes, it was the Empowerment Collaborative of Long Island. So this is like COVID era, I remember, because I remember I was in the attic, and before that I wasn't in the attic, and now I'm not in the attic as much. But back then I know for sure I was in the attic. I'm very like strange with like spatial stuff. Like I remember the desk was facing that way when we talked on the phone one day. That's weird, but I remember it. That was the organization, and Ken had connected us. I don't know if you do work with Serini and Associates, if that's why, but he had connected us in relation to what I do professionally, Vanguard Benefits, the employee benefits agency that we run with my partners and I. That's how we connected. So I want to get into the story though, because that organization has certainly evolved and I guess merged, and we'll talk about all of how that happened. But before we do any of that, we say, who the heck is Jennifer Hernandez? What is your story? Take us down your path. How do you get to the nonprofit sector? I know every one of my guests that comes on this show has a story of how they got where they are now, and I'd like to hear your story if you could take us there.
Oh, sure. It's one of my favorite things to talk about. It really is. I look back now at how it all started, all the hard work that went behind everything, all the uncertainty, all the vulnerability, the mindsets that I was in back then opposed to now. And I go, wow, holy cow, how much has changed, how much I've grown. It was just, it's an extraordinary experience, life just itself, to be very honest, just it's an extraordinary experience. And I've learned how to value every second of it now, which wasn't the case when we first started. But anyway, so I'll go to the beginning. I am a mother. I am a wife first, and I have my two beautiful kids. I was born and raised here on Long Island, Suffolk County specifically, by my parents who immigrated from Argentina and Ecuador and met at a party in Queens. 9 months later, they were married. A year later, they had me. And then a year and a half after that, they had my sister.
Hey, time out.
So
So we got to shout out Queens. Definitely, not that the boroughs care so much, but definitely my favorite borough. By the way, let's go Mets. Didn't know Queens started the story, but I am a Met fan. Are you a baseball fan? Do you care?
my husband is a huge Mets fan. He is also from Queens.
What's his name?
Gabriel.
Gabriel, shout out. Let's go Mets, baby. My son texted me last night. We got a bunch of like different players just recently. My son, my kids and my wife are away traveling, but whatever. They're texting me, keeping me up to date, because when you're the nonprofit sector connector, sometimes you can't even check out the highlights and see what's going on. So Gabriel, let's go Mets. We got ourselves a team. We got ourselves an ownership team for sure. We're pretty excited about Uncle Steve Cohen and that whole thing. And Tia Alex, by the way, Jennifer, Tia Alex, which is Steve Cohen's wife. She runs the Amazing Mets Foundation. I met their son Josh, who's great. So very,
Wow.
very, very cool. Yeah. So we should talk about that because there's probably some connects with ECLI vibes, and we'll get into that. All right.
Oh
So
my goodness. Yeah.
Argentina, and I forgot to write down Argentina,
Argentina and Ecuador. So my
Ecuador.
mom's Ecuadorian, my dad is Argentinian.
Got it. Got it. I love that. I love it. All right. So I keyed in on some of the stuff you said, and I don't want to take you off track. But I keyed in on growth and evolution. My business partner and I, one of my partners and I are into like reading and listen, really more audible, listening to books. And we're listening to something called 10X is easier than 2X. And we have to, and as we evolve, the 80-20 principle, sometimes you got to get like rid of like 80% of like who the heck we are to focus in on really where the value is, both from a professional perspective and as an individual. So what I really keyed in on is what you were saying, is how like you kind of look back and like you didn't say this, but I heard this, like it's almost like you're that person that you might have been, like you're totally different. Like, and I know that personally, right? Same.
Completely different. And you're blowing my mind right now with the 80-20,
Yeah.
because yesterday we had our state of the agency meeting. We do this once a quarter, and I literally the entire meeting was around 80-20, tuning out 80% of the things that don't matter and focusing on the 20% of the things that do. And how do we do that? That was literally the state of the
Oh,
agency.
so I love that. I'm sorry I missed it, but I'm happy to hear about it. But I'll tell you this, like there's this thing, there's like a lot of memes, right? But there was this one video where this guy is talking about like the noise versus the signal, right?
Yes.
Yeah, right. And apparently, um, um oh God, Apple, Steve
Yep.
Jobs. Steve
Yep.
Jobs was able to, like, there's this video where Mr. Wonderful from Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank is saying
Mm-hmm.
how he used to do a lot of work with Jobs back in the day. And Jobs was able to like tune out like so much. But not everything, right? He got stuck, apparently, according to Mr. Wonderful, got stuck in some noise. A guy who doesn't deal with noise at all, apparently, is Elon. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if that's so true because he gets himself in all these battles and stuff online, I noticed, but whatever. The story is, so I try that he does not deal with noise, and I guess it relates to business wise. If so, I like just something so inconsequential happened the other day to me, right? And actually, it was like two different things I could key in on business wise, and they were all noise. Noise that honestly, Jennifer and everybody listening, I should not be getting worried about that noise. Like, okay, great, fix that. I have to go back to signal over here, right? As it related to my business. And the more we can focus in on just signal and either forget about the noise or delegate that noise to somebody else who should be dealing with that noise so we could be all signal, right? And that's to me, like, I don't know this stuff in and out, but like that to me is like that 80-20.
Yep.
The majority, in the case of me from a business perspective, Vanguard Benefits, the majority of relationships that I would say it's really the minority of the relationships that I have really will drive the growth of our business, right? As agencies, as nonprofits, probably that those 20% or whatever it is, 15, 18%, 22% of the relationships we have are really going to drive the donations, the partnerships, the strategic alliances, right? So we got to focus in and double and triple and quadruple down on that stuff. It's a little bit painful, right? Because it's
Oh,
growth.
for sure.
And we got now, like, it's like, well, I don't really want to get rid of these folks, or, but there's different ways to do that. So that's something that came up of your state of the agency. How cool is that?
It's crazy. You blew my mind when you said it. And I know exactly the clip that you're talking about, because it sent me down a rabbit hole, which, inspired the state of the
I
agency,
love that.
because
Yeah.
it's so clear that you need to put in those daily buffers to make sure that there's like these guardrails that, they safeguard you from going too far one way or too far the other way, because you can have all these great ideas, but if you don't put in the time to actually execute on them, nothing's ever going to get done. And if you're always chasing those dopamine hits of just checking things off of your list, then again, you're making yourself feel good, but you're not moving the needle. So you
Oh
can
man,
look really busy
yeah.
and not be
We're gonna be
doing
great friends.
anything.
We are going to be great friends because I know a little bit about chasing dopamine hits and like, oh, I did that big freaking deal. What was that worth? Like, either you didn't need to do that or somebody else could have done that. Yeah,
Exactly.
I love that. And I have this thing about, and it's part of the ADHD. There's so many wonderful parts of the ADHD brain, and then there's some challenging parts. And one of the challenging parts is like perseveration and getting like caught on stupid things and just like, and I realized I gotta like cut that stuff. And this is like something that happened this week where I could have got stuck on it. And I was like, okay, fix that. I'm gonna move on and go back to where I was. And that was very like that's growth, right? That's something that like a long time ago, like last Tuesday, I might have get stuck on that, right? But this week I didn't get stuck on that. And that to me, and I tell everybody, that I meet with my therapist, that, shout out to hashtag ending the stigma together. It's all about normalizing this stuff about, talking about these things. And my therapist is awesome. I love him. And it's also, he's more like, he's not more like, but he's also like a coach. Because like I know what the heck I need, but he's a guy who I can play the ideas off of him, and I utilize him as all this stuff. Gang, therapy's freaking great. You should check it out.
It
So
absolutely is. I love what you just said though about you know what it is that you need.
right,
And
it's
that
on.
is center of
Yeah,
our work here at ECLI Vibes. We are
yeah,
client centered. We don't tell folks what they need.
yeah.
They come in, they let us know where they're at, and we can help organize and build structure and sort of kind of sift through all these different things that they have going on because they know what they need,
Yeah.
and then we sort of help them figure out what comes first, prioritize that. And I mean, it's such a big deal.
We're going to get into all that. I mean, but what other way is there than meeting people where they are and helping them with what they know they need? And because how arrogant would it be by any of us to assume we could fix the other person's situation when they know where they're at? We need to empower them, huh? We need to support them and we need to resource them, bring them resources and help them level up, which we're going to get into all that. I totally threw you off. Gabriel and the Mets took us in a total, talk about it, talk about ADHD, but took us in a totally different direction. So Queens, did you grow up at all in Queens, or they were from Queens and you ended up growing up out on Long Island?
No, I grew up out on Long Island. So I was actually I was born in Stony Brook Hospital,
Okay.
and my parents had moved out to Long Island, and we lived in a couple different places when I was very little. I hardly remember that, but my dad was a chef, so he was very close with the folks over at Gurney's. So
Okay.
like we knew like the Montauk area very well. I remember the beaches and like growing up just eating all this like amazing
Yeah,
food.
sure.
And then we moved to Coram.
Okay. Got it.
We lived, I literally lived in my house until I was maybe 26 years old when I moved out.
Yep.
So I was there for a pretty long time. And my father always ran businesses. So after that was like the early years when he was a chef over at Gurney's. But his passion's always been food. And on my mom's side, they all had restaurants. So El Mariachi Mexican restaurant. Right now they have La Bonita, which is in Miller Place, and it's always been a very like business savvy restaurant specific sort of like life that I lived. My mom is an entertainer.
Is that
um,
right? Where she sings or what?
she's a singer,
Oh my
so
God.
I grew up watching her sing every Friday and Saturday at the Mexican restaurant, dressed up in full mariachi
Oh
gear.
my
Yeah,
God. Does she still perform like that?
she doesn't, but she sings. I mean, she's so talented. She's so talented. She has some records and stuff like that that she's
Really? Oh my
yeah,
God. Oh,
that
that's
she's
so fun.
recorded.
That's so
And
fun.
my
We got.
sister as well. My sister is a singer too. She plays the
Are you?
drums.
Is that what she does? Your sister, like as a profession or
No,
not?
actually, she works at ECLI Vibes with us.
Oh,
Yeah.
she does.
Yeah.
So we'll get
Yeah.
into so the family business, the entrepreneur business continues into the nonprofit sector. How about you? Can
Absolutely.
you sing?
I cannot, but I could drop it like it's hot.
You can. All right. So
I can dance.
can you for real? All right. So listen to me. I don't know. I get the impression we're similar a type age. Maybe you're younger than I am, but I'm not going to ask you that. You're never supposed to ask that. So, but here's the thing. I'm 47. I'll just drop
I'm
it out there.
41. I'm
Okay.
41.
All right. So this is like what I'm about to say, and we're supposed to go to break any second, I'm sure. But what I was going to say was lately, I've been listening to a lot of TKA in my car. Now, if
Okay.
you Long Island, little freestyle and stuff like that, like I've been rocking out. Now, even at 47, that's a little bit before me, like, but
Yeah.
like, because I was born in 78. So by the time I really knew what was going on, it was like 90, 91, and I listened to a lot of Hot 97 back then. If you don't know Hot 97 hip hop in New York, everybody. But I listened to Nirvana back then. So I always had this kind of like different vibes, but like freestyle music, man, there's just something about freestyle music. So when you say you could drop it like it's hot and you're dancing, that
You
makes me
can
go
dance.
to like
Yeah.
that kind of place. So I'm sure we can do some cool stuff together. I like to sing sometimes. I don't know if the world likes when I sing, but sometimes I just break out into song just like that, right? My ears are perfectly positioned on my head where that sounds good. I don't know where that lands on you all, but I'm telling you, it sounds real good to me. All right. So anyway, I always thought I should have been a crooner.
We're very similar, Tommy.
We're gonna have fun
My
together.
husband can sing as well, and I'm the only one in the family who cannot. But to me, I sound
Now
fantastic.
wait, now wait a minute, because you just said we're very similar, and you said you can't sing, and you think you sing fantastic. So I feel like you're telling me I can't sing, Jennifer. On my
I
show,
take it
you
back.
can't. Oh
Take
my
it.
goodness. I love it. I love it. We're gonna get in. We're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, we're gonna get into, we haven't gotten anywhere because that's part of my show. But where you're now 3 years old, living in Stony Brook. That's how far we've gotten along. So we got 38 years to go in about 40 minutes. We'll figure it out. All right, we'll come right back. We're gonna get into, how you get into the nonprofit sector, some of your background, things like that, the work you're doing. The show is called Philanthropy in Focus. My guest is Jennifer Hernandez. The organization is called ECL Vibes. Check it out, eclvibes.org. If you're watching, I'm going to share it for you. But if you're not, go there. Be right back.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays, 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a purpose-driven individual looking for deeper healing, clarity, and growth? Welcome to the Expansion Room, a transformative space for purpose-driven individuals. I'm Siobhan Larice, host, licensed therapist, and coach. Join me every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
That is right. So we could have sung or sang or sing that together, Jennifer, if you wanted to. I never know if it's sung or sang or whatever. Anyway, we could have done we could have sang it. All right, let's move on. So I'm actually meeting the singer for my buddy Brendan Levy. We're meeting for we'll have a Heineken Zero because you all know 15 years sober coming up in September. So I'll have one of them Heineken Zeros. Yeah. So meeting Brendan Levy from the Queen's Chamber of Commerce. We're meeting later on this afternoon. And he is the singer in the band The Goods. Actually, they used to be called The Goods. They're called Damaged Goods. And they're playing at Docks. We go to see them at Docks, not tonight, but in a couple weeks in August, they'll be playing at Docks down in Island Park. We always go to see them. But Brendan and I wrote that song together. And apparently for you all, Brendan sang it or sung it, so you didn't have to hear me do that. You know what I'm saying? I'll have to figure out if it's sang or sung. Somebody on the internet is like, Tommy D, come on, it's grammar. I'll figure it out. All right, Jennifer. So we got so much to do today, and we're running out of time. Oh my goodness. I feel like the Mad Hatter in Alice in Wonderland. Oh my
We have a lot to talk about.
Dude, let's talk. You talk now. All right. So we know you're from Long Island, Stony Brook, the whole thing. We know the parents are in the restaurant business, family full of entertainers. All right. So what about you? Where's your path? Where do we go?
Sure. So I ran my dad's businesses since I started when I was 12 working for him. I would stock shelves. I learned how to use the cash register, things like that. So I kind of had a basic understanding about business. And I think one thing that I really took away from that is, learning how to lead. I watched my father be a leader. I watched the good things. I watched the bad things. I kind of absorbed it all in, and it definitely became part of what shaped me. I learned a lot about people because we had customers. So we had delis, we had pizzerias, we had an auto body shop at one point. He was like a serial entrepreneur. So he would kind of fix up businesses and then sell them. I'd be the one helping him, do the paperwork for selling a building and things. So I learned all these things.
That is awesome that you had access to that, just to be able to touch and learn. And that's great.
I mean, huge. It just gave me this understanding about how money works, how people work, how relationships work, all of those things. And I don't think I really acknowledged that until later,
Yeah.
because, you know, growing up in the 90s, you were told to go to college, graduate, become a doctor or a lawyer.
Yeah.
And I mean, at least that's what I was told.
All right. Well, maybe they didn't want you to do the same hustle that like grinding it out or whatever, like that, the way they did it. Yeah.
Yeah, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But they're also, you know, it might sound like they were rigid, but they were not. Super flexible. Really just like that was kind of what they sort of instilled in us to do. And long story short, I wanted to be a lawyer because my mom put a little, she put a little, what did those little luggages, the attorney briefcases,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I have pictures of that, me dressed up like an attorney.
Like as a
Literally,
kid.
as a kid, as a kid. My mom would dress me up. I mean, she was really just trying to like put that in my
Well, listen, you know, talk about like vision. I mean, I'm looking on your LinkedIn, right? And it says like inspired life on LinkedIn, right? And I'm just thinking like talk about vision. So this woman is putting you dressed up like a little attorney, right? So you're just like projecting into the future that like that's because I want to have a briefcase. You know what? I always thought I could be a good attorney, but I didn't really want to go to law school. But I did want to have an ESQ behind my name, right? That sounded cool.
pretty cool.
Yeah, and my father always said, you know, again, I didn't want to be like a lawyer, no offense to my friends who were real estate attorneys, but like I didn't want to do that. Like I wanted to be like a guy in the courtroom. Like my wife watches that show Suits, you know, where
Yeah.
like
Oh, such a great show.
badass attorneys. Like I wanted to do
Love
that, you know. But because my dad always said, you always have an answer to everything. Like that was the thing. You always I always had a rebuttal. Like, you know, I always had something to say, funny or not funny. I always had something to say. All right. So you did go to law school or you did not go to law school?
No, I did not. So what happened was I graduated Stony Brook University. My major was political science.
Okay.
And I really, you know, I really thought that I was going to go on to law school. I thought that that was the game plan. And to be really honest, even from a very young age, anything that I did, I wanted to do it well, and I knew I'd be the best at it.